Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, namaste, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. How are you today? Hope you're well. If you haven't been here before, well, thanks for joining us. This is Ken at 10, and we talk about the property market every day live at 10 o'clock. Hence, Ken at 10. We're James Alexander Estate Agents. We're in a place called Norbury, which is in southwest London, SW16, between Streatham and Croydon. How are you? Hope you're well. It's Random Act of Kindness Day today, and I just thought we should remind people of that because it's something we can all do. Random act of kindness, why not? If you want to give us a random act of kindness, then you could go to Google and give us a review, and we'd be very grateful. And you'd be doing something that's very kind, especially if you've used our services. We do have a lot of Google reviews, as you'll see, if you go on there and look up James Alexander Estate Agents on Google and just see what people are saying. And we're always very grateful. So if you have used us in the past, or you've just enjoyed the show and it's been helpful to you in any way, we'd be really grateful for your review because it drives new business to us. And we're always so grateful for that because it's what we're all about, trying to do the very best for our clients. And how are you? I hope you're well. Terrible weather yesterday, wasn't it, with that storm and everything? But whenever I look at the news, I always think we're so lucky to live in London. You know, that's why my northern colleagues call me a soft southerner, I think, because, you know, we don't get the extreme weathers. Yes, we had a bit of wind yesterday, but when you look up north, they lose power and they tough it out. You know, I saw a lady on the news this morning saying, don't worry, I've got vodka. And I thought, well, we're so lucky to be down in the south. I understand we've got more tough weather coming as well. And then on top of that, you know, we got Trump and everything else going on. Trump, rather. I mean, Russia. And I'm thinking about Russia. I don't know why I think about Trump when I think about Russia. I think it's because I think about Putin in the same, with the same kind of hatred as I do Putin. You know, that authoritarian regime type attitude. But interesting to see that is he pulling back troops? Is he not? Who knows? I mean, my gut feeling is I've always said that I think that he'll wait until the end of the Winter Olympics because he needs China as a friend, and China won't want to be upstaged by a war starting. And I think he's banking on that. So I think that finishes around the 20th of February. So I hope I'm wrong. But we could see it kick off on just after that, around about the 21st of Feb. What I'd love to see is him pull back and give up because I don't see how it's in his interest or anybody else's interest, but let's hope he does that. Property market wise, it's mad out there as always, absolutely crazy. Now, one thing to remind you of is that, you know, as far as the market's concerned, the busiest time of the year statistically for buying and selling houses is March. We're now in mid-February, 17th of February today. So if you are thinking about selling, March could be a really good time for you. April's equally strong, really. It's the second best statistically, but it's also strong. And what it does, it gives you a nice long lead in to the rest of the market because the market season for selling tends to start in the spring in earnest and it goes right the way through to summer. And it stops just about when the summer holidays start in our experience. But this year may be an exception because what we're finding at the moment is an undersupply. And when there's an undersupply, too many buyers, not enough sellers, then you do have this constant situation where, okay, you haven't got 100 buyers registering, but you do have 50. But of course, the highest price is driven by the maximum level of interest, and therefore it's always worth trying to sell when the market is at its peak interest level. In terms of prices, well, the average price is now top 274,000 we see in the news today in City AM, the Daily Mirror and the Times. And it says that house prices increased by 0.8% between November and December of last year and 10.8% year on year. Of course, this is across the whole of the UK, and areas show dramatic differences in those rises. And real estate experts say the high rate of growth would likely ease in the coming months while the sale of supply and demand remains firmly in the favour of the nation's home sellers. There's a good chance that the high rate of house price growth seen during the pandemic will now subside. CEO founder of Boomin, Michael Bruce, said that the Southwest saw the fastest house price growth last year with an annual growth rate of 13.6%. And there's an average increase of £29,953 in London. Well, of course, that's true, but you've got to bear in mind that percentage-wise in London, that's much lower because the average house price in London is that much higher. And so we haven't seen some of the dramatic house price rises that the likes of Scotland and some of the other holiday districts have. But what we have been saying for a while and what's really coming to fruition now is rent rises. They're now at a 5-year high. There's an article in The Guardian today saying UK rents are rising at their fastest rate in 5 years, according to official figures, further straining the finances of millions of households. The cost of renting on average for UK tenants rose by 2% in 2021. That's the largest increase since 2017, according to official figures from the ONS. Soaring rental prices coupled with inflation hitting 5.5% in January will really pile the pressure on families already struggling with fuel cost increases and everything else increasing, really. It's a real struggle for families over the last year or so. And what we're seeing is a real poverty gap. And that's why I think, random act of kindness today, perhaps you could donate to your favorite charity, homeless perhaps, or your food bank. We've got a lovely food bank here in Norway, the Liberty Food Bank. Cassandra Learning Centre is another great charity if you're one for local charities. Nationally and internationally, there's so much that can be done as well. There's some great charities out there helping out in places like Afghanistan, which is a terrible humanitarian crisis going on out there. We could see something similar going on in Ukraine if we're not careful. Let's hope not. And back home, as I say, with all these rises and everything, there are people out there that are struggling to feed themselves. We saw that in a beautiful video done by Liberty Food Bank, and nice young gentleman there I saw yesterday just explaining how he'd used the food bank for the first time and how helpful they were, and how humbling it is to think of that poor chap struggling to feed himself and his family when the rest of us can do so comfortably. On top of that, you wonder how these people, if they can't feed themselves, what about heating? They're probably going without. So fuel poverty is a real thing, and it is a worry for people. So random act of kindness day, make sure you do something nice for someone less fortunate than yourself, if you can. Apart from that, lenders are pulling the cheapest deals. Well, we've seen this for a while now, but lenders have now withdrawn dozens of the best deals from the market. 6 banks and building societies have now pulled deals, and that's since the start of the week. Platform, part of the Co-op, has today increased rates on some of its mortgages by up to 0.58 points. And HSBC increased rates yesterday on certain fixed rate products by 0.35 and 0.3 points respectively. This is interesting because they're raising the rates higher than the actual base rate has gone up. So what it means is that their margins are increasing and the deals are getting worse. We did expect this to happen, obviously, with interest rate rises putting pressure on lenders, but it's so competitive out there that there are still some good rates out there. Other lenders have raised rates. Early in the week, TSB withdrew its market-leading 1.59 rate, and the best deal is now with the Yorkshire, which is only 0.17% higher, and that's at 1.67%. Of course, you should take financial advice before you do anything on that front. As far as the rental sector is concerned, we've been saying for a while now, there's a huge mismatch between the number of properties available and the number of tenants looking. This is going to grow and grow, and the government are trying to legislate out of it by attacking rogue landlords. But what tends to happen with their strategy is that these rogue landlords are the very people that don't comply with the legislation that the government puts in place. So by putting in place things like rent controls and further harsh legislation on existing landlords, what happens is that the landlords that already comply pay more of the share, and those under the radar are still under the radar. So I think what they need to do is look under the radar and look for these beds in sheds, look for these rogue landlords, find them, seek them out, and have teams that are there to investigate that. They must be able to do that. They know that it's at the lower end of the market. They need to look at all the housing benefit applicants and claimants and go through their records and see where they're living and see if those circumstances are comfortable. I think that would really help. Instead of attacking landlords and vilifying them all the time, get to the rogue landlords. Let's get them out. All professional landlords want that. But what professional landlords don't want is more tax and more vilification. And the problem that the government has right now is they're treading a very fine line between a lot of landlords saying, actually, if you're bringing in X, Y, and Z, enough already. We're sitting on big paper profits. We're off. And if that happens, then the intensity of pressure on the private rented sector will increase greatly. And that's not a good thing because there's just not enough supply already. So I hope many landlords will stick with it, but you may find that some actually pull away from it for that reason. In terms of the market generally, lots of confidence around, still a lot of confidence out there, despite the pressures of the economy and everything else. The property market moves forward at pace. Will it continue this year? Who knows? Certainly, there are lots of commentators suggesting it will. There does seem to be a lot of confidence around how much will that be dented by interest rate rises on the cards and potential for other challenges such as inflation is very, very hard to judge. But, like everything, it's a moving market. And if you're thinking of investing, it should be for the medium to long term anyway. And if it is, then short-term fluctuations shouldn't discourage you, because if you try and guess the market, you'll nearly always get it wrong. But if you sit in the market for 5 to 10 years, chances are you'll make very large paper profits. Most people do, certainly over the 10-year period. I don't think I know anyone that hasn't. So if you're looking for a property to buy, really tough out there for you, I know. What I would say is make sure you do really thorough searches. Use On the Market, use Rightmove, use Zoopla, use Boomin, use all the platforms you can. Make sure you register for updates. They've all got alert services where you can register within a certain area. Some of them you can draw a search on, and this can be quite helpful if there's a particular place that you're looking, such as in our area, there's a place called the American Estate and the Rose off Green Lane that are very popular. You can literally draw a search on Rightmove with your price range and get an alert every time a property comes available in that patch. And remember, if you're not finding anything in the areas you're searching in, you've always got two other choices, really: lower your sights or other areas. So by expanding that area out to a slightly wider area, maybe go from quarter of a mile to half a mile, you might find some more things come available. Perhaps if you don't need that third bedroom, you could settle for 2. That will bring in more. If you don't need that fourth bedroom, 3, or if you don't need that garage, or maybe look at terraced houses instead of detached. Those kind of things can make a massive difference. So make sure you play around with your criterion to try and find what you can out there, because I know it's tough for buyers. Lots of buyers are calling and telling us that. We're doing our best to help, but honestly, there's a massive shortage. We've got really exciting instruction coming up. One of the most expensive and nicest houses in Norbury is coming to the market with us shortly. We're really excited to tell you about that shortly. I can't give you any more details at this stage. Suffice to say, the office is absolutely excited about getting the instruction on board and looking forward to working with the clients, as we are with all of our clients, large and small. I'm delighted to say we just got rid of one of our smallest flats on the market today, and it's just lovely to see that one go for the client, because sometimes the smaller flats take a little bit longer to sell, and this one's now at last gone for the client, and she's a lovely lady. So really nice to be able to get that one away, and nice to see the market moving across the board, not just at the high end, but right across the board. Most popular thing right now, 2-bed houses. 2-bed freehold small houses seem to be really in vogue right now. Everybody wants them because in our area they can be at a similar price to flats, and it can be a case of, do I go for a leasehold flat which is a bit bigger, perhaps another bedroom, or do I go for a freehold house which may be smaller, a little bit more compact, small garden, perhaps small receptions, but freehold, therefore less hassle in many respects. Horses for courses, one's not better than the other, they're just different. And if you buy carefully, then you can get yourself a good deal either way. And it does depend on your budget. If your budget is restricted, you will find that the larger blocks can offer better value quite often. Conversion flats tend to come at a bit of a premium. Particularly what's at a premium right now is gardens. Outdoor spaces at a massive premium. And we know that's a problem. And we know that that involves a big value hike, and one that many can't breach. But perhaps if you could look at things where your mortgage broker can advise you, perhaps you can get a bit more money. Sometimes you'll find that a good independent financial advisor can look at other sources, perhaps look at salary multiples. And mortgages these days, they're not just one size fits all. Used to be we'd have like 20, 25-year mortgages. Well, now we've got 30, 35 and 40-year mortgages, meaning that you can spread those payments over a longer period of time and hopefully bring down those monthly payments. Because in the medium term, the inflation, if it continues at this rate, does erode your debt substantially. And you will find that looking back, that massive mortgage you took out, inverted commas, then is not so big when you look back on it. And I always say, look at the numbers. This is not financial advice, but I do say, look at the numbers. When your brokers advise you and give you the numbers, when you're going to look at a flat or a house, say to yourself, this is costing me X per month. Can I realistically afford that? And if you can't, and it's going to interrupt your lifestyle too much, don't buy it. Make sure it's affordable to you. But when you're looking at the big numbers, they're always going to be scary. In London, it's crazy. I mean, flats at 200,000 in our area are cheap. How's that cheap? 200,000. That's a lot of noughts, a lot of zeros, and really scary for a lot of first-time buyers. And I always say, don't look at the big noughts, because they're always scary and always have been. Look at the affordability on a monthly basis. Question, can you afford those payments, and can you lock them down for a period of time, which makes you be able to see that perhaps if you lock it down for 2 to 5 years, then you can see exactly what your payments are over that time. But be careful of being locked into what we call a redemption penalty. This is where you have to pay a penalty if you come away from a fixed rate. And it's always a bit of a gamble. Do I go for a fixed rate now? Will rates go up? Will they come down? It's hard to say. Certainly the trend right now seems to be up. And with inflation on the up, we suspect interest rates will be higher at the end of the year than they are now, but not massively so. But so far, so good as far as the market's concerned. We could just do with a few more vendors coming to market. One of the big problems with us Brits when we're not sure what to do is we tend to go, okay, we've got Russia, that's a worry. We've got interest rates going up, that's a worry. We've got inflation going up, that's a worry. We're scared. What should we do? Nothing. And they tend to sit tight. And this goes for sellers as well as buyers. And this restricts the level of property available on the market. And when the market's as busy as it is at the moment, and there's lots of confidence around, this causes a real stagnation in supply. So hopefully that will start to get better come March and April. Traditionally, we'll see a lot more instructions launch and come to market then, but remains to be seen. We'll keep you advised. Obviously, you'll hear it right here from the coalface as the market develops. But right now, the issue seems to be stock, and we're all lacking it. And hopefully that will improve over time. But we'll see. Time will tell. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching as always. Remember, random acts of kindness. Get yourself to one. Make sure you do one. Take care of yourselves. And if you can, your family and friends. Ciao.